Hello, hello. This is my first experiment in making YouTube videos about hockey. I'm just messing around here, but doing it for fun. So here we go, very amateurish. Do I want my team to make the playoffs this year? I'm going to go through all 32 teams and ask the question, do I actually want my team to make the playoffs this year? So, spoiler alert, the answer is yes. Most fans want their team to make the playoffs this year. But we're going to look at it from three different perspectives. So, first of all, what is their recent playoff history? How did they get into the playoffs? This season I'm talking about. And in the playoffs, what do you do? And that's going to affect whether or not you want your team to actually make the playoffs or not. So, those three things: recent playoff history, how you get into the playoffs, do you squeak into a wild card, do you coast comfortably into the playoffs, are you in position, then you hold on by a thread, and then in the playoffs, do you actually win a couple of rounds, do you get swept in the first round? All these things are important. So up here, we're going to see our 32 teams, and I've got 6 categories at the top, and then 2 categories down below. So I'm going to very quickly explain each category. So first of all, Cup hopefuls. These are the teams that have won the Stanley Cup in recent memory or have become very close. So they're the real deal. They're capable of winning it. Second one, the rinse and repeat. So rinse and repeat, these are teams that are clearly playoff teams, but no one actually expects them to win the Stanley Cup. So they're kind of just going back into the playoffs and back into the playoffs, but never winning anything. It's not a good place to be, rinse and repeat. No regression. These are teams that did not make the playoffs last year, but got into the playoffs this year, and you don't want to go back to being a non-playoff team. So kind of you don't want to slide back. Back on the horse. These are teams that did not make the playoffs last year, but have recently and want to get back into the playoffs. Climb the mountain. These are teams that have come close to the playoffs and they're trying to get over that hump in the playoff. And then end the drought. These are teams that have not been in the playoffs in a long time. The fan bases are frustrated. They just want to get into the playoffs. It doesn't matter how you get in. It doesn't matter what you do in the playoffs. They just want some playoff hockey. So those first 6 categories at the top, those are all yes. I want my team in the playoffs. Going down, a run would be fun. A run would be fun. These are teams that no one expects to be in the playoffs. But if they made the playoffs, that'd be good fun. Nobody expects them. You could get swept in the first round. Doesn't matter. If my team got into the playoffs this year, that'd be surprising. That'd be fun. I hope it happens. It's not going to happen, but I hope it does. And then the final one, look to the future. These are the few teams that I actually think you do not want your team to make the playoffs. No, it would be bad. So let's say a lot of these teams, if they got to the playoffs, they might squeak into a wild card spot. They wouldn't be very competitive in the first round. What's the point of making the playoffs? There's not a lot of these teams, but they do exist. So let's go through, and I'm going to start with the Vancouver Canucks. Vancouver Canucks, they're going into back on the horse. It was just a couple years ago. They won the Pacific Division. They beat the Preds in the first round. They were very competitive against the Oilers. And they still have a lot of those guys. JT Miller's gone, but come on, you guys want to be back in the playoffs. You got to get back on the horse. Calgary Flames. I'm going to put them into climb the mountain. They haven't been in the playoffs recently, but last year, nobody thought they would be good. They were very competitive. Could they get over the hump? I think the Flames are borderline run would be fun, but they came close enough. So if I'm a Flames fan, I kind of want them to climb the mountain. The Oilers, not much to talk about here. They've been in the Stanley Cup twice in a row, Stanley Cup final twice in a row. They are Cup hopefuls. The Anaheim Ducks, I'm going to put them into climb the mountain. So I think last year they would have been a run would be fun. Just getting there would have been good. But this year I feel like they're making progress. They have all these young players coming up. At this point, you want to climb the mountain. You want to get over the hump, get into the playoffs. Take the next step. The Winnipeg Jets, last year's President's Award winner, but unfortunately for them, I think they are in rinse and repeat mode. Nobody thinks they are going to win the cup. I don't think anybody does. On the other hand, everyone expects them to make the playoffs. So what are they going to do when they get there? So you're a playoff team, but no one thinks you're going to win. It's not a great place to be. The Ottawa Senators, they broke through. They got into the playoffs last year. They didn't do very well. But I think more importantly than really taking the next step in the playoffs is you don't want to fall back out of the playoffs. That would be bad. I think for this year, at any rate, the goal is to just make the playoffs again, no regression, and then maybe next year you work yourself up into rinse and repeat or cup hopefuls. The Maple Leafs, like the Jets, I don't think anyone thinks the Maple Leafs are going to win the championship. They just lost Mitch Marner. But they should be a playoff team, and they're going to get knocked down the first and second round. LA Kings, more of the same. Will they lose to the Oilers again? It doesn't really matter. They're going to make the playoffs and then lose in the first and second round. Okay. The Canadiens. I think the Canadiens are similar to the Sens. No regression. They made the playoffs last year. However, I think the Sens, there's more pressure. Because the Senators were supposed to be here. The Canadiens surprised people last year. So for them, it'd be great to get back to the playoffs. I don't think it'd be the end of the world if they don't. They have all these young guys coming up. They're still rebuilding. The future is bright. Unlike the Sens, you really got to get back. The Habs, if they get back, great. If they don't, as long as they don't play terrible, I don't think people will be too upset. The Buffalo Sabres, end the drought, get in the playoffs. Doesn't matter how. You could lose in the first round, just get in the playoffs. Now the Boston Bruins, finally, we're getting somebody outside of the top tier, are going to look to the future. Bergeron's gone, Marchand is gone. Does anybody think they're going to do any damage, even if they do manage to sneak into a wild card? No, I think it's a waste of time. Look to the future. I'm sure David Pastrnak doesn't want to hear this, but struggling into a wild card would just be counterproductive. And very similarly, New York Islanders, I think the future is much brighter for the Islanders than it is for the Bruins. You got Matthew Schaefer, you got Victor Eklund, the other guy, what's his name? Sean Aitchison. You traded for Cal Ritchie, for Brock Nelson. So the future is bright. It's just not bright this year. Don't worry about this year. Getting to the first round and losing to, the Canes in 4 games or 5 games, what's the point? Really, you don't want to get to the playoffs if you're an Islanders fan, in my opinion. The Rangers are most certainly back on the horse. No one thought they were going to miss the playoffs last year, and they did. Are they a cup hopeful? No, I don't think so. I don't think they're that good, but certainly if you're a Rangers fan, you want to be back in the playoffs. The Devils. Devils are an interesting one. Are the Devils rinse and repeat or no regression? Or are they cup hopefuls? I don't think they're cup hopefuls. They haven't proved it. On the other hand, last season, they were back on the horse team. They got back on the horse. But I'm a little worried that the Devils are sort of just within this Leafs, Kings, Jets mode, where they're a playoff team for sure. But what are they going to do? Rinse and repeat, unfortunately, is where they find themselves. All right, the Flyers, my hometown. What's up, Philly? Finally, we have a run would be fun team. The expectations are not high for the Flyers. No one really expects them to get into the playoffs. However, they got a new coach, Rick Tocchet, Matvey Michkov, Trigger Zegras is coming over. Maybe they did make a run. Get into a wild card spot. It doesn't matter if they lose in the first round. No one expected them to get there anyway. I think Flyers fans would love to see this team make the playoffs. Doesn't matter how they get in. Doesn't matter what they do. Just a run would, in fact, be fun. The Penguins, I think, are in the worst situation in the NHL. You got Crosby, you got Carlson, you got Malkin, Letang, but whatever he's going on with. You got Raquel, Rust. You got all these guys, and yet I think they're no good. So let's say everything goes right. You get into the first round, then you get swept by the Capitals or get swept by the Canes. What is the point of that? You should be going for McKenna. It's weirder because the Islanders, I think the future is bright. The Penguins, hard to see. And yet still, if you're a Penguins fan, why do you really want this team to kind of edge into a playoff spot? Look to the future. Capitals, the Washington Capitals. I'm going to put them into rinse and repeat. Are they cup hopefuls? I don't think so. No regression. I think they were too good for no regression. I think they're a solid playoff team. Just I'm not sure how much they will do there. So they're in rinse and repeat mode. And the cream of the crop of the rinse and repeat, I'm going to say, is the Carolina Hurricanes. They always win the first round. Maybe they win the second round. But are they really cup hopefuls? Have they proven they can get over the hump? I'm not sure. So I think they're in the rinse and repeat mode, but they are the cream of the crop in that mode. Florida Panthers, nothing really to say here. Two-time defending champion, cup hopefuls. Tampa Bay Lightning are in danger of going down to rinse and repeat mode, but they have won a couple cups recently, so I'm going to leave them into cup hopefuls. The Preds, terrible season last year, completely underperformed, but they do have Stamkos, they have Marcia, so they got Yossi, they have Saros. I think they're close enough to have been a playoff team that you want them back in the playoffs. Even if they don't do great, you kind of want that team back in the playoffs. So they're a back on the horse team. The Blue Jackets, very similar to the Flames. No one thought they were going to do good last year. They became very close to getting the playoffs. Now Fantilli's a year older, Johnson's a year older, another year for Marchenko, Voronkov, Jenner, and what's the other guy's name? Monahan, hopefully healthy, and hopefully Jet Greaves shows up in goal. Climb the mountain, boys. The Blue Jackets are my favorite NHL team. I hope they can climb the mountain. I'm cheering for them. Red Wings. Red Wings are kind of the climb the mountain team, but with the Yzerman plan and everything like that, I think is just end the drought at this point. You just want to make the playoffs. Even if you get swept, even if you don't do well, who cares? They just want to make the playoffs, in my opinion. Blackhawks, very similar to the Flyers. You got Bedard, you got Frank Nazar, however you pronounce it. These young guys coming up. Nobody thinks they're going to make the playoffs, but if they did, how fun would that be? They're ahead of schedule. A run would, in fact, be fun for the Blackhawks. Dallas Stars, if the Canes are the cream of the crop of rinse and repeat, I think the Stars are on the bottom end of cup hopefuls. They get close. They haven't really proved that they're capable of doing it, but we'll put him into that category. They got Rantanen. I just drafted him in my my fantasy draft, so hopefully he has a big season. The Blues had that big run down the stretch last year. Oh, not great stuff. I'm an amateur, sorry. But, you want to get back to the playoffs if you're the Blues. No regression. Let's get back to the playoffs. Similar thing for the Wild. At some point, these guys want to level up, but you really don't want regression if you're the Wild, if you're the Blues. You want to get back to the playoffs. The Avs, they won it recently enough. They're getting Landeskog back. Hopefully Nichushkin is healthy. They're very much in the cup hopeful category. Utah is my favorite team in the West. And, they made the move from Arizona. They were pretty good last year. Let's hope they can climb the mountain. My boy JJ Peterka. So if Columbus is my favorite team in the NHL, Utah is my favorite team in the Western Conference. Vegas, obviously, they won the Cup fairly recently. They're hopeful, just got Mitch Marner. They're definitely in that category. Seattle, are they a run would be fun team or are they look to the future team? I'm going to say they're more look to the future. They had that great season 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago that it? But yeah, I feel like there's not enough to build on with this team. Getting to the playoffs against swept, that wouldn't be that much fun unless like Shane Wright and Matty Beniers really go off, which I don't really see it. No, I'm going to put them, look to the future. And finally, the San Jose Sharks. I'm a big Sharks fan. So William Eklund, Michael Meza, if he plays, Will Smith, Macklin Celebrini, all those guys with like John Klingberg and Dmitry Orlov on the back end, Askarov and net. If they somehow manage to make a run and get to the first round, who cares if they get swept by the Oilers or swept by the Avs or swept by the Vegas Golden Knights? That would be fun. A run would, in fact, be fun if it came from the San Jose Sharks. So there you go. Those are my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 categories. Again, I'm just messing around here, trying to have a little fun. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. And thanks for watching. All right. See you.